Anishinaabe meskumukwa Indigenous makwan dundam sagin dunji don gomande gogi zish ikone sing niwiodam. Greetings, my name is Looking Red Bear. My English name is Josh B. My clan is Bear Clan. I'm from Sagin First Nation and Manitoba. March 3rd, and I will play Madden 20. So today I'm going to be going over the term trail. The Ojibwe Anishinaabe Moin term we're going to be using for trail is Miikana, 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 Miikana trail. So to get a sense of when this would be used in the game of football, tackle football is on defense when the defensive backs are covering their receiver in man coverage. When they're following, they're lined up to a specific receiver in man coverage. So I'll explain it like this. So we're gonna look for man coverage, cover two man, cover one. That's a zone. So we're gonna want a cover two man look, or just a man coverage. So I'll call a play here.
Down! 180! What's it? Hot! Down!
Alright, so in the game of football, the reason why we're going to use trail in this instance, the defensive backs would primarily be saying this um, because their job in man coverage is to follow the receiver and make sure he doesn't get the football. So what's normally said by coaches is they're going to trail the receiver, I guess. So as you can see here, because 22's responsibility is to cover 84 on this man coverage, um, you're going to see that he kind of he's kind of behind him, so therefore he's kind of following where the receiver goes. Thus, why I'm kind of using the term trail, because he's kind of following the path that the receiver is taking him on. So because it's man coverage, 22's job is to follow him around the football field wherever he goes. So the receiver's gonna kind of have a step on him, but the defensive back is gonna be right there with him, trailing him, following him wherever he goes, kind of following the path that's created by the receiver, and the defensive back is gonna be following that trail or following that path that the receiver takes him on, but he's still gonna be covering him. So that's why we're going to use the term trail, Miikana, in this sense. So like the other videos, I'm going to be going over future tense. So the first term we'll go over is I will trail. So this would be said by any DB in man coverage that knows they have a receiver to cover. So when the formation breaks and they see the alignment, how the offense is lined up, the DBs go to their assigned receiver and they're going to play man coverage. They're going to follow him, trail that receiver wherever the receiver goes. So any DB that's in man coverage is going to be following or trailing that receiver. So the term that would be said is I will turn, and that is Niwi Miikana, I will trail. And as you can see, the the defensive back is following the path or following the route that the receiver runs. Beat pretty dirty there, but covered alright, I guess. It's for a video game, but so this defensive back could say Ninwi Mikana, I will trail, as he's referring to 16. 16 kind of gets a step on him, but 25 is still following the path. We're still following that receiver or the route or the trail that's created by the receiver. The defensive back is following that. Wherever he goes, the defensive back goes in man coverage. So the defensive back could say Ninwi Mikana. Ninwi Mikana. Next, we'll go over you will trail. You will trail. So because this is trailing, we're going to talk about that primarily just with the defensive backs. This could be said by the safeties, communicating this to their DBs, letting them know what they're going to be doing, because in cover 2 man or cover 1 man, there's always going to be a safety deep or 2 safeties deep or 3 deep, what have you. So the safety would communicate this to the defensive back, you will trail. So what would be said in that instance is Kinwi Mikana, again before the ball is snapped, so the safety has to say this before the ball or the play begins. And he would say this to the DB. So 34 would say this to 25. And 34 would say Kinwi Mikana, Kinwi Mikana. Because the safety has his own responsibility on this play, but he's communicating to the defensive back what the defensive back is doing. He's going to be trailing the receiver, 16, or following him, covering him, following around, following the route, trailing the route that is created by the defensive or the receiver. So the safeties, or even in theory, I guess the linebackers, if they know what the defensive back is doing, because these guys are usually pretty smart, they could let them know what they're doing, so they could say Giwi Mikana, because they know what they're doing and they're speaking to the person that's trailing on this play, that has the coverage that's following them. So the DBs are following man covering. So this would be said by either the linebacker or the safety, or even a coach really on the sideline, to the defensive back that they are trailing. You will trail. Giwi Mikana, Giwi Mikana. Alright, next we'll go over they will trail. They will trail. So this would be said by a coordinator, spectator, anyone on the sidelines, describing what should be happening. If they know it looks like it's a man coverage because everyone's kind of lined up, staring at their man, staring at their receiver. Their eyes are to the receiver, not to the quarterback. So it looks like it's man coverage. So they know they're going to be. They know that the Oakland receivers are going to be followed by the Denver DBs. That instance, they will trail, would be said. So let's say someone in the stands is asking what Denver's defense is going to be doing. Someone who knows the game could say they're probably going to be trailing. They will trail. or really even by the safeties on the field, describing what the corners and what the corners are doing, DBs. The safeties could be describing or speaking in the general sense of what the DBs are doing, or the linebackers describing what all three DBs or four DBs or two DBs are doing. Um, actually brings up a good point. Let's say there's a formation where there's only one receiver on the football field. Then in that instance, because there's only one receiver, even if it's man coverage, you can't say they will trail because there's only going to be one guy covering one receiver. Usually, like unless you see some weird punt block coverage where there's two guys, one here and one on the outside, and they both jam that receiver. But that's not in this game. That's like real football. But let's not get too far. So the term would be winwi mikana, winwi mikana. They will trail, and this would be said by anyone who's describing what the defensive backs are likely to be doing when the ball is snapped. They're describing that they're going to be trailing, following, covering. These receivers. So, winwi mikana, winwi mikana. Alright, next we'll cover present tense. So the first one we'll go over is I am trailing. So again, when the ball is snapped, this makes the play active. So then this constitutes present tense. Even for now for the defense because they move when the ball is snapped. So the play is live for the defense once that ball's moved, and then it becomes live. So the defense or the defensive backs in this case would say it becomes present tense. So they would have to say nendu mikana, I am trailing. So once that receiver's already starting to run downfield, they would say nendu mikana, nendu mikana. So he's describing the present act that the DB himself is engaging in. He's following, he's trailing. I am trailing the receiver. So I am trailing. So 29 would say that at any point when the ball is snapped. 25 could say this at any point when the ball is snapped about this receiver that he's covering. Nendu mikana, nendu mikana, nendu mikana, nendu mikana. Nendu mikana, nendu mikana. Nendu mikana, nendu mikana. Alright, next we'll go over you are trailing. You are trailing. So again, when the play is active, the ball is snapped. This would be said by someone watching the play happen to the defensive backs. So likely by the safeties, you are covering, like you are trailing. Just generally speaking, I know there's no specifics yet, but these are just an introduction to the term. So for the purpose of this video, it's you are trailing. So again, this would be said by someone who's witnessing what the defensive back is doing on this man coverage. So, because 34 can see what this defensive back is doing, 25, he could then say to that defensive back that he is trailing. So what would be said is Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana, you are trailing. Same could be said for 31 to any one of these DBs, 22 or 29. 31 could say that either of those two, you are trailing. Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana. So, in theory, 31 is saying this during the play to 22 or 29. Right now, because the ball hasn't been snapped, he can't say Gendu Mikana because it's dead. Once the ball goes, any point now, once that ball moves, he could say Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana, Gendu Mikana. And he's describing what these defensive backs are doing. Man coverage are usually trailing behind or locked in on a receiver, following that receiver on that receiver's route, and kind of following the trail or the path or what have you. He's going wherever that receiver goes. So, the Ojibwe sense, he's kind of like going on a trail. Slave will already been before him. If that makes sense. So, we'll finish off with Wendu Mikana. They are trailing. Again, anyone, spectators, coaches, people on the sidelines would say this about the defensive backs specifically. And they're describing what the defensive backs are doing when the play is active or when the play is going. So what could be said? Someone's asking, what are the DBs doing? They're trailing. So Wendu Mikana, Wendu Mikana. They are trailing. Wendu Mikana, Wendu Mikana. Alright, now we'll finish up with past tense. So we will go over Nengi Mikana, Nengi Mikana. I trailed. So we'll wait for the play to be kind of dead if it's incomplete, or the whistle goes, or there's a score, or someone goes out of bounds, the play's dead. So we're describing what the DBs did. Or let's say even if the linebacker comes out in man coverage, he's trailing technically too. So you're describing what the defenders that went out in man coverage did on the previous play. So any defender that had to trail, cover, follow, run around with a receiver, they could say this. Nengi Mikana, Nengi Mikana, I trailed. They're describing what they did on that play on their way back to the huddle. Ball hits the ground, it's dead. Nengi Mikana, Nengi Mikana. Nengi Mikana, Nengi Mikana. Nengi Mikana, Nengi Mikana. Next we'll go over you trailed. Gengi Mikana, Gengi Mikana. Gengi Mikana. So this would be said likely by the safeties, or really anyone in the front seven, describing to the defensive backs what the defensive backs that were in man coverage did on the previous play. So the defensive backs, safeties, or anyone that was watching the DBs in man coverage would say this to the DBs that were in man coverage. Gengi Mikana. 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 Alright, next we'll finish off with Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. They trailed. So anyone that's watching from the stand, sideline, really anyone on the defense that wasn't covering could describe what the defense was doing, the defensive backs for Denver were doing. So in that sense, they could say they trailed after the play's done. Wengi Mikana, Wengi Mikana, Wengi Mikana, Wengi Mikana. They trailed. And again, because we're describing past tense, we gotta wait for the play to be over with some sort of like significant like tell or marker, like a whistle, ball dead, or usually it's a whistle from the referees. You could tell when the play's dead. Especially if you're a defender and your back's away from all the action and you're just focused on the receiver, like in this instance in man coverage, because you're kind of following where that receiver's going. You're trailing him. So they trailed Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. Let's say you're the stick guy. You're watching the defensive backs. Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. Wengi Mikana. Alright, next we'll finish off with trying to say three terms as they happen throughout the play. So we'll start off with future, go into present, past tense. We'll go over I will trail, you will trail, they will trail. I am trailing, you are trailing, they are trailing. I trailed, you trailed, and they trailed. Ninwi Mikana. I gotta find a better defender. Ninwi Mikana. Nindu Mikana. Nengi Mikana. Nenwi Mikana. Nendu Mikana. Nengi Mikana. Nenwi Mikana. Nendu Mikana. Nengi Mikana.
185.
Can we Mikana? Can we Mikana? Can do Mikana? Can gi Mikana?
Down.
Can we Mikana?
Blue 80. That's it.
Can do Mikana? Can gi Mikana?
Down.
Can
180.
we Mikana?
That's it.
Can we Mikana? Can do Mikana? Can gi Mikana?
Down.
Can we
180.
Mikana?
That's it.
Can do Mikana? Can gi Mikana?
What? Down. 180.
When we Mikana? When we Mikana? When do Mikana? When gi Mikana?
Down.
When we Mikana?
Push it hard. Hot.
When do Mikana? When gi Mikana?
Down. Blue 80.
When we Mikana? When do Mikana? When gi Mikana? When gi Mikana?
Monday. Down. You
When we
180.
Mikana?
Push it hard. Hot.
When do Mikana? When gi Mikana?
Down.
When we Mikana? When do Mikana? When gi Mikana? When gi Mikana?
Down.
Alright, hope that made sense. Might have been a little bit more confusing than the other videos, but it was quite a generalization, but I just wanted to get the term trail and use it in the game of football in some fashion. So that's why I went with Mikana now. Yeah, that's primarily when the defensive backs are speaking, what they're doing in a man coverage. So it's a little bit more specific than the term like kick or run or wrap up. Trailing doesn't occur that as often as those, but it still happens quite a bit, a significant portion. So that's why I included it. So next video I'm gonna go over the term turn, gewek, gewek, gewekita, 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 gewekita. In the future, present, and past tense. So hope that makes sense. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, and I will see you soon.